Let's take a look at using the different pointer tools, flipping, rotating, and grouping shapes. So I am going to start by making some shapes. I'm going to pull out the Polygon tool. We have looked at it before, but there's one thing if you wanted to make a triangle, this is the tool to use. This is one of the ways to do it. I've clicked on it and I'm put in 3. The default is 5, but click down to 3 and you get a triangle. So there we go. I'm going to just throw a color in there, maybe a different hue there. And I'm going to play with the stroke for a minute, and I'll notice I'm going up into here, and I haven't talked a lot about this palette up here, which is absolutely marvelous. Let me go ahead and just change the stroke, and I will talk about strokes in a later video. So there are some different ways you can go about changing the directions on these. I'm actually going to turn this on its side. Now, obviously, this is one way to do it. You'll notice that when I put my pointer tool over the corner, I get this little kind of double arrow thing indicating that I can rotate, and you'll see that it's telling me the degree that it's rotating. If you want to do a perfect going over to certain, like, oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. If you press the Shift key, you'll get you'll get it to flip over in 45 and 90 degree turns, and so that's one thing you can do. Another thing that you can do is you can use the rotate and the flip tool. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to pull that little tool palette out. Again, you have to get right on that little arrow there. I'm going to pull this over here. And to begin by rotating, I'm just going to double click on the rotation tool itself. And what it does is, and actually I believe the default is to not show preview, so I'm going to turn that off. This is how it will look at first. Make sure to turn on preview, and you can dictate what type of degree you would like that to flip. So I'm going to say I want it to flip this way. Okay, and I want to make a copy of it, so I want the original to stay the way that it was, and I want to have a copy made of that. So here we go. There we are. So I'm going to just move that over. Okay. I'm also going to group these. So when you use the grouping tool, you select what you want to group. And actually, you know what? While I'm here, where's my align? Let's get these aligned. Looks like they may be already. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to select these again, and I'm going to go to Object, Group. So now, when I select them, they're going to be together. Now, another way to duplicate this is to simply press on the Alt key, and you'll notice how the head of my pointer tool, or my mouse, I'm sorry, becomes a double-headed pointer. It's black on white, and this means that I'm duplicating whatever I click and drag. So I'm clicking, I'm dragging. Okay, again, you have to have the Alt key pressed down, click and drag. So I don't want all that in there, so I'm going to get rid of it. So that's one way to do that. Now to use the rotate tool, the reflect tool. So I did rotate. I'm going to use reflect, and I've selected my group, and I'm double click on reflect. And just like in the rotate tool, I can make a copy I can dictate which way I would like that to flip. I can say horizontal, I can say vertical, and I actually don't like that, so let's see what I've got here. It is not doing what I want it to do. Okay, well, that wasn't quite my idea, but I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And again, I can make a copy if I would like. I just simply hit copy, and there we go. I've got the originals that are not altered, and then I have the copy. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to make some more copies in here. And I'm going to group some of these because I want to show you a couple of different tools that you can use. So I've got two that are grouped, and I'm going to group those yet again. And I'm actually going to put them off onto the pasteboard. What I'm doing right now is I'm going to pull back, I'm going to zoom back, and how I can do that is Control- key. Okay, so there I go. Got this pulled over here. And now I'm going to Control-0, and that brings me into gets me back to a regular view. So first let me talk a little bit about we've been working with the selection tool. Let's talk about direct selection, and I've actually pulled this off already. I've got direct selection and I've got group selection tool. Let's look at the direct selection. So if I go in and I'm going to ungroup these, actually I'm going to ungroup all of them. So I'm going to go marquee it, and I'm going to go to object, and I'm going to ungroup. Okay, there we go. So let's say I want to change the look of this triangle. So what I'll do is I'll come over here and I'll get direct selection, and I'm going to select. Now what's happened here, and I'm going to zoom in, is all four of these points are highlighted, and that means that the tool, the way that I've selected this form or this shape has selected the entire shape, and I don't want that. So I'm going to click off, and I'm going to come back in again, and you can see how when I put the mouse tool over the edge of the line, I see where the line is, that blue line there. So I'm going to go ahead and click. Now I have the three different handles, and they are not, you can see they're white, which is what I want. Zoom back out again. Go Control-0. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead while still in the direct selection tool, and I'm going to click on this anchor, and I'm going to move it. Okay, as long as only one of the anchors is highlighted, I can do this. So this is a great way to change shapes. And that's with the direct selection tool. Now let me show you, and this is not something that immediately you might not think that this is a big deal, but when you, oops, excuse me, using the wrong tool, when you are working with complex shapes that have multiple groups, and this obviously is not a complex shape with multiple groups. But you will, as you use Illustrator more and more, you're going to have those opportunities. So what you need to do then, if you need to make an alteration to something within that group and you don't want to ungroup it, you can come to the group selection tool, and I come in here and you can see just the one is selected. To show you how that would look if I wasn't using that tool, if I use the regular direct selection tool, all 4 pieces are selected in that. In this, I come in, I've got that one piece there. Then you can go ahead and you can do further things. Now that I've selected it in that, I can come in and I can get it with this tool. Okay, things like that. Another thing I would like to point out, and right now I'm going to ungroup this so I can show it to you, is these neat little corner things like we saw when we looked at the rectangle. You have those in the triangles as well. First of all, I'm going to Object and Ungroup, and I'm going to get rid of a few of these because I don't really need them. Oops. Oops. Now you see what happened down here was because I selected these with not the regular selection tool, but the direct selection tool, I did not get all of the shape of that triangle, okay? So you can see these are all blue. These handles are blue here, but this is not. So boom, that's what happens when you do that. So to get rid of all of that, I can simply use the direction tool or just make sure I grab all of them when I'm in this particular tool. And I'm going to get closer on this. And what I'm doing is I am using Control Spacebar to pull up my zoom tool. To make it go backwards, I do, let's see, what do? Shift, I'm sorry, that's my hand tool. I do Control Alt Spacebar to make it go back, and just Control and Spacebar to bring it in. So I'm getting the direct selection tool and I'm selecting all of this. Actually, I'm going to go in here and get it with the direct selection. You know, I think what is going to make this easier is for me to reduce the size of the, there we go, because now we can see those in there. And I'm actually going to change the color here so it's lighter. Okay, maybe a little more obnoxious, but you can see it. Now here we go, I've got those little corner things again. So let's go ahead and click on that. And not only can I round those, you see I have some choices on what those look like as well, right? So that's pretty cool, right? Okay, so that's that for this video.